The following video is for educational purposes only. It is intended as an instructional tool for entry level into concrete methods and as an aid in upgrading skills. Ontario Concrete and Drain Contractors Association and Universal Workers Union Local 183 are responsible for many different aspects on a construction job site, from residential to commercial, from buried drains, basement and garage floors to poured concrete porches and more. Today we will be working on a newly constructed home in an established residential area. We will be placing and finishing concrete for a basement floor, a garage floor, and a small front porch. The completed job is estimated to take approximately 10 hours. The following items have been prepared prior to any concrete being placed. A temporary lighting setup. Drain lines have been installed and inspected. 4 to 8 inch gravel base has been placed. Concrete grade levels have been determined. Isolation joints have been set at walls. Ladder access has been set up and secured, although temporary stairs are always preferable for better and safer access to the basement. Adequate ventilation has been provided. The concrete was ordered the previous day. A concrete chute has been set up. Now the first of 2 truckloads of concrete arrives. A safety reminder: when backing up any vehicle, the signal person should be wearing a vest garment and should be in clear view of the driver. Always make sure to avoid the driver's blind spot. A concrete chute has been set up through the cold cellar or porch for movement of concrete from the ready mix truck outside to wheelbarrows set up in the basement. The wheelbarrows allow for mobility and versatility of the concrete within the basement walls. When pouring concrete with wheelbarrows, the initial loads are poured around the wall edges. Using a rake, the edges of the room are set to grade with a laser level. The constant beep sound confirms the grade level is on target. A simple grade stick set at a predetermined elevation is just as effective as a laser level. Here the reference is taken from the basement ceiling joist. Along the walls, preset bond breaks are building code requirements. Set bond breaks, also referred to as isolation joints, allow concrete movement which help in reducing cracks in the concrete. Bond breaks can be made from different materials. On this job, the crew is using a plastic drainage membrane that guides any potential wall leaks below the slab and into the gravel. On interior walls, there is no concern for water leaks. Here, a sponge gasket, asphalt expansion joint material, or polyethylene is adequate. Now that the edges of the room are set to grade, the next series of wheelbarrow loads of concrete are poured down the center of the room, location determined by length of screed, most common being 8 feet, once again at grade level.
Watch the laser behind you.
A screed can be a simple 2x4 with handles or a gas motor-operated version. Both come in various lengths. Screeding levels, smooths out marks, pushes the aggregate down, and brings the cream up to the surface. A gas motor-operated version, which allows for pouring of a drier mix, is easier on a worker's back and increases total production. Both come in various lengths. Although this type of power screed is more widely used in high-rise and commercial projects, it is becoming more popular in the residential sector. A safety reminder: as with any gas-operated machinery, check that there is sufficient ventilation. This is a safety code requirement. In lieu of a straight-edge screed, a darby, a flat surface with a long handle, may be used. The area between the edges and the center of the room are now ready to be filled. The crew repeats the procedure, maintaining a consistent grade level. When they reach a room with a floor drain, for example, a furnace room where a hot water tank will be situated, the floor will have a positive slope towards the predetermined height of the floor drain. Here the drains have been exposed for inspection prior to pouring. Once again, the crew works the outside perimeters of the walls and corners first, and then runs a center channel to the floor drain. Here, the darby, usually smaller in width, helps to create the proper slope to the drain. The crew is now finished with the first truckload of concrete. A second order will be arriving shortly to complete the balance of the basement pour, the garage, and the front porch. Since we will be pouring exterior floors, the concrete mix design of the second load of concrete will be different than the basement floor mix. By code, any exterior concrete applications require a 32 Class II mix design. It is a special composition mix that allows for freeze-thaw action in the slab and is also more resistant to the damaging effects of salt. This mix can also be used to complete the balance of the basement, whereas the basement floor mix, which is 25 MPa, cannot be used in exterior applications. While awaiting the balance load, the crew prepares the garage and the front porch. On this project, the garage is sloped from back to front at 2%, and because the floor will be subject to the weight of a vehicle, a wire mesh has been introduced to add reinforcement. Reinforcement is not required by the building code with proper base preparation. Depending on subgrades, different types of reinforcing may be required. When laying wire mesh, it is important to overlap, and once the concrete has been placed, the mesh should be pulled up to the top third of the slab where the concrete is weakest. At the entrance of the garage, the front of the slab, a bulkhead has been installed to contain the concrete. In addition, due to the inclement forecast, the crew has provided protection on the front entrance of the garage. This will both help contain heat in the concrete and work area while keeping debris off the concrete during the curing process. Here, the crew is able to maneuver the concrete truck chute into the garage. Using wheelbarrows, the crew first works outside perimeters of the walls and corners and then runs a center channel before filling the remaining area. Using a rake, the edges of the room are set to a sloping grade, and the wire mesh is pulled up to the top third of the slab. Finally, in order to maintain a tight level seal, it is important to make sure the garage slab maintains a level plane where the door shuts. As the garage concrete is being placed, part of the crew prepares for the front porch. The underside formwork has been inspected prior to the placing of concrete. Rebar is cut and set into place an inch and a half off the plywood using small plastic chairs. The pouring of our 2 truckloads of concrete is complete. We now let the concrete set before beginning the machine floating and finishing process. In approximately 2 hours, the concrete has dried where it is now firm enough to support the weight of the workers and machinery in the machine floating stage. A simple test is to step on the concrete with 1 foot. If the indentation left by your boot is a 1/4 inch deep, the concrete is ready. The initial part of the finishing stage involves hand floating and troweling along the edges of the walls and around pipes. Knee boards are used to help distribute the finisher's weight and avoid footprints in the concrete. In the second step, a gas-operated edger machine allows you to get up close to the walls and corners. A safety reminder: as with any gas-operated machinery, make sure there is sufficient ventilation. This is a safety code requirement. On projects with many exterior walls and interior partitions, the edger machine, which can get tight up against the walls, reduce manual handwork and increase productivity. Once all the edges of the walls have been treated, the power trowel will be used to float the balance of the concrete floor. Power trowels come in different sizes, from 24 inches to 48 inches. Larger versions are available for bigger projects. The power trowel has interchangeable blades, so it can be used to float or finish. Using the power trowel is a 2-step process. The first step with the power trowel is floating. Floating helps to create a level floor. The floating direction or pattern is key in achieving a level floor. A widely used floating technique involves guiding the power trowel on parallel paths in one direction, always overlapping previous runs. Once completed, we guide a second path perpendicular to the initial run, again, always overlapping the previous run. The second step with the power trowel is polishing or finishing. Here, the floating blades are removed, and the remaining trowels are used to create a polished finish. This is the final stage to completing this job. Depending on the size of a project, a hand finish is all that may be required. Good troweling ensures a hard, durable surface. The crew has used a chute to pour the concrete from truck to basement. With wheeled barrels standing by, the concrete was poured room by room, pouring the edges of a wall first, followed by a center run and a final pass to fill the area, all set to grade using a laser level or a grade stick. The crew screeds the concrete using a screed, manual or motorized. This process is repeated throughout the basement, the only exception being the furnace room, where the grade is sloped to a drain. The second load of concrete arrives with an exterior concrete mix design. The garage is reinforced with steel wire mesh. The garage grade is predetermined with a slope from back to front. The concrete is placed and screeded. For the front porch, rebar is cut, set 1.5 inches above plywood, and concrete is placed and floated. The first part of the finishing stage involves hand floating and troweling around pipes and the edges. A gas-powered edger machine is also used here. The second part of the finishing stage involves using a power trowel with floats to level the concrete. And finally, the troweling or polishing of the concrete. Job complete. This presentation has been provided by the Ontario Concrete and Drain Contractors Association and Universal Workers Union Local 183.